Hello, viewers. Tonight it's Kathy and Brenda.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And tonight, Brenda and I have been having some discussions about, it started off, sorry, my cat's joined in again. She just loves these energy healings and energy readings, so she keeps coming here. So Brenda and I have been having this discussion, and it started when I was in South Africa and on a tour over there, and the people I was on a tour with said, well, the earth, therefore the earth must be flat. And they explained their theory to me, and that actually solves a couple of questions to me, which is why it takes the same amount of time to fly from Brisbane to Johannesburg as it does Johannesburg to Brisbane. And why do you say that? Because, I actually have a maths degree, and if you jump up in a train and drop down, you actually move down the train a little bit. So in theory, one way should be quicker than the other way if the earth is turning. So, the flat earth theory sort of solved a couple of questions, but it just left too many more open. Anyway, since then I tripped over another flat earth theory, which is, I'll call it the bigger flat earth theory, and that answered a lot more questions. But still leaves a lot of things open. So, Brenda, my questions tonight, and you can help me frame them because it's important in the framing of the questions. So yeah. I'd like to start with the moon. I know we're talking about flat earth theory, but flat earth theory sort of says that, it has all of these things about the moon. And one of them is that it doesn't even exist, that it's a hologram. And look, I've seen the photos where the moon is like a half a moon, like half a shiny moon, in theory, half a dark moon. And the photos where people have taken photos of that with telescopic photographic things, and they can actually see stars through that. So I'm sort of wanting to frame a question around the moon, which would be in line with, is it solid? What? Go.
Okay, so the moon to me is an interesting thing because it moves, but it doesn't change the face. So it's always been a bit weird to me there. You see a lot of other planets out there and they turn.
Yeah.
So there's a turning that happens, whereas the moon doesn't. So to me, that just seems a bit odd. And yes, you can say, oh, it holds up into the gravity and what have you, but really gravity pulls down. So what the hell is the moon? And it serves a purpose.
Sorry?
It serves a purpose. It does serve a purpose because it helps with the tidal waves. The waves in the sea get pulled, and that does help, perhaps with the natural growing thing. So perhaps it has a purpose. But I suppose really what we want to know is the moon man-made, I suppose, man-made and solid, or is it a natural?
Is it a physical? I guess they say that it's a solid rock thing that circles the earth. So maybe the first question is it something solid and physical? And I know, look, we've also had the discussion about perspectives as well. So when we're, I guess, asking these questions, maybe we should.
Okay. Well, I think what we do is to cover. I think we could do it all in one little spread. Just if I just pull out 3 cards for the cards to tell us about the moon, about the shape and the construction of the moon.
Okay.
And let's see what we get out of those 3 cards on the shape
of the moon. So what's the shape going to be anything in particular, or the 3 cards are going to tell a story?
I think the 3 cards are going to tell us a story. I just don't think I think
it's a complex issue, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So 3 cards to tell us a story about what the flat earth is. Okay, right, that's an interesting way of pulling out cards. So here we go. So that's the first card. Move it across a bit.
Yep.
So, this is very interesting. Look at the colour.
Yeah.
It's all got very much the same colours. I'll pull that in. And it's funny with that, the first card, I always see little people at the top. And I feel that, I feel that what's happened with it is somehow constructed by people or entities of sorts.
Yep.
Partly by wrongdoing as well, because I see blood coming down the bottom. So it wasn't for good purposes at the time it was being built. I feel that it's become part of the way of the world now. So that could be when the moon first appeared. I don't know how many thousands and millions of years ago. I feel that it does have that nurturing aspect to it, and it connects and works well with the sun. I see the sun coming out of that sort of second card. And if we go into the third card, and I suppose this is where I see beings hidden behind the moon itself. You know, it looks quite solid and strong. Yeah. I believe it may be solid from this emperor I'm seeing is it's solid, but I'm seeing there are people hidden behind it. Mostly from as you can see those funny little goats peering up, and they're the first things that sort of shot out at me. They're hiding behind the back of the moon.
Cool.
So what do you see?
Well, I see similar but different. So the first card I just got, when you pulled that, I just went lies and deceit is what I got. The second card when you pulled that, I got the sun. And the third card when you pulled that, I got being controlled by. So when I put it all together, what I get is that it's light or energy frequency. So it may or may not be solid, but it's predominantly frequency, not necessarily solid matter, but it's created to deceit, or certainly the stories about it are created. The deceit has been created on it by the emperor. So by the person, somebody's like controlling this and put the whole story into place about it and made stories up about it. And like yourself is, then I didn't actually see that as a goat. I actually saw it as a stick with two things coming, swirling off it. So it's almost like there was extraterrestrial help in creating this illusion, which is the first card. So the illusion of deceit, and using. So to come back to the middle card is using the positive energy or in capturing it, or the frequencies. So, I mean, in a nutshell, what I get from this is that it is probably something plasmary. It's, but the tales around it have certainly been created, and what it is and how everything is certainly being created for a purpose, but not a good purpose for, I guess, those of us on this physical 3D plane anyway. Now, I'm just getting some additional information from this. So the middle card is the sun, definitely, and it's so the information is about it was created with positive energy, and it's trying to break through. So that information is, well, the truth is it's burning through that first card and the, I guess, the controller at the moment. So, so it's doing that as well. So did you get anything extra just then?
No, so the truth, so what you're saying is the truth will come out soon, or we're hoping that the truth, that they're trying to bring out the truth.
Well, it's not hoporium. It will come out at some point. It's just that it's sort of like, you know, a lot of what's going on in the planet now, and you know, you and I have talked about it and looked at some stories about, well, not stories, about things that I even grew up with about, you know, the new world order way back in the 70s and 80s, you know, and my mum used to talk about it. And now she's completely converted to the current situation, of course, but you know, so it's a slow boil. It's like you know, you don't realize it's hot water because it's ratcheting up 1 degree at a time. And that's the same as getting into, you know, like this is the play on both sides, is they're both doing that. And because it's taking it, but you know, soon could be like in 10 years time.
Yeah.
I just got to know from that actually.
No, so not in 10 years time. Okay, longer or shorter?
No, shorter.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
There we go.
So I just got it's going to be 3 years. So by 3 years time, but the thing is it might happen so gradually that we don't. Well, in maybe in 5 years time, we look back and go, oh yeah, of course, we used to think the moon was a solid object and it did this and the planet was this way. Like, how stupid were we?
So,
you know, it'll be gradual.
Will we be able to book a trip there?
To the moon? No.
Yeah.
I just got to know. It's like, okay, so the words I just got then was no, it's a mirror, but not but not a real mirror. It's
like a Batman sign.
Yeah,
projection.
It's in the 3D terms anyway. It's the best thing is to say mirror, but you know, don't go and think that it's the same mirror that you're looking in the bathroom at and staring at yourself. It's maybe a better way to say this mirror is like we're looking at this through video. Yeah. And you could say it's a mirror or you could say it's a video. Okay, because I can see everything on here that I can in my mirror.
Yeah.
So you could say the video is a mirror as well. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens.
I got some talkative guides with me tonight.
Hey. I wonder what other people get from this, as well as, you know, it'll be interesting to see how things change and what comes out true.
Exactly. And just for everybody else, there's a couple of things I've referred to that I've looked to. I'll make sure that they're included in the links so that you can listen to some things and do your own digging for yourself as well. So now, Brenda,
yes,
on that
we're going to do the same for the Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, while you're pulling the cards for the Earth, is again in South Africa. I had the pleasure of communicating with some a group collective that called themselves the Builders, and they would give me information about how they made the ley lines and how Gaia invited them in to help do the structure. And they really didn't they call themselves the Builders / plumbers. They see the ley lines as the plumbers. But I did ask the question about is the Earth flat or is it, you know, what is it? And they went, well, it's not quite flat, but it's not round. It's not what you've been told. So let's do the same thing.
And one of the comments I said to Kathy was that really it's a matter of perspective and what dimension you're in. Because if you're in 2D, it'd be flat, 3D, round, 5D, it could be just a glow. Who knows?
Well,
but
exactly.
Yeah. So that's the way. Here are the cards. Oh, wow. This is interesting.
Interesting.
Yes. I think from what I'm getting, the Earth morphs and changes. That's what I'm getting from the first one. It's not solid. It's not fixed. It is it move. It can change. It's it can change its shape and its perspective. It can reflect differently. I think if I look at the second one, I'm seeing more of the I feel that Mother Earth is basically has lots of controls within herself to change things across the Earth. And so and it affects everything from humans to the animals to the birds to, you know, so it's kind of like it it's got this sort of own control. Does that help with whether or not it's round or not? I think, yeah, it's kind of interesting because it goes a little bit back to my perspective, but perhaps that's for me calling cards, which, you know, may influence things. But then when you look at the third card, it comes to this, and it could be, as you say, if you look at that card, it could look like you're looking on the top. It's like a flat castle. Or you could look at it slightly from the beginning of the gate and walking down, and it's in 3D. So I think it could be a refraction of light and how you look at things.
Yes, and in actual fact, an interesting thing, one of the things I was trying to explain to you, and it's a bigger discussion topic, I know, and I didn't quite explain it well to you, but in regards to refraction is one of the things I've come to the conclusion of is that maybe a perspective of it is very similar to the kaleidoscopes. You know, the things that you put coloured beads in and you turn it around and it just changes what you're seeing, but you're only actually seeing a sixth or an eighth of it depending on the kaleidoscope you're looking for. So you really have to turn it many times to actually start trying to work out what beads might actually be in the kaleidoscope itself. So when you said that, it just yes, that does ring true. So that's cool. Look, like you, I don't really get whether it's flat or round from these cards. What I did get from as you pulled them was sort of like, oh yeah, I just made this thing. I just like push made this thing, and then the man came along and was like, okay, let's put some order to this. Let's like chaos almost. And then the last one, definitely for me is, and maybe because I work with computers, but very much that rigidity of control and structure and all of that sort of stuff. So putting that together, the other thing I got from the cards as well is like heaven, and I don't subscribe to any sort of formatted religion. So when I'm saying heaven and hell, these are probably what's coming out for other people potentially, is that there's, you know, a good bit, a bad bit, and then a controlled bit. But what I'm getting overall from the cards is that, yes, like you, it's depends on what you're looking at, depends on what you're seeing, and it will be based on your lexicon about, and I don't mean you as in Brenda, I meant anyone asking the question about what the earth or how the earth really is. You're going to get the information based on what you know. Like I was, you know, we were talking about the moon before, and I'm going, well, the information I got was a mirror, but that's not really the information they're giving me, but it's the closest I can describe the information that's coming through. So look, the thing that I get mainly from this is there's an awful lot of power in the earth, and like it's this megawatt power center. So to come back to the last card is what I get from that is that there's so much power here. We don't need to have these coal-fired things. Like the earth is generating the energy that we need right here and now, and we just got to I don't know if you remember, Brenda, but one of the times we've had this question I asked you, the question was, what do they mean by watch the water?
Yes, watch the water. We got that one. Yes, watch the water.
Yes, well, I just got that there. It's like there's energy in the water, and if we set it up right, then the energy is in the water. And people out there, it's not like the water is electrified, but it's like if you set it up right, you can energize water and then power your houses and your fridges and whatever else you want to power and blah 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 blah.
They say that water holds energy, and it also can hold memories. So they talk about, you know, the memories. Some of the pyramids deep underneath, have water, and inside the water is the actual memories. The water holds the memories of the stories or what have you, of how the pyramids and everything was built. So there's a lot of it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because water does go everywhere, and I think we said this last week, we are water.
Exactly. And it's like the water goes through everything, and it's just in different forms. So this last card is actually really interesting because I'm just getting so much information off it. The first two is sort of like, and I have just been given the information. It's like sort of guy going, I'm just going to create this thing.
Yeah.
And then somebody else coming in and going, well, we better like plan some stuff. And
yeah, chucking a few animals and some humans.
Sorry?
Chucking a few animals and some humans.
Well, yeah, it's like, well, what's the point of this and why are we doing this and all of that sort of stuff.
That more follows the religious thing, you know, the world was created in 7 days and on the seventh day he rested. So what the hell happened? Because it hasn't really improved much. Well, it has. We've gone backwards if you think about the times of like, you know, was it the Hanging Gardens of Babylon? It was so beautiful, you know, and then you hear about was it
well, even Angkor Wat, you know, which is
yes,
when you actually, when you know, if you actually go and look up the you know, that it was actually all these canals that went in from the sea, and which is why it's got all of those, you know, beautiful waterways and things like that. It's in the middle of the land and it's got these canals that come up the water, and they, you know, shipped everything in, you know. So
yeah.
I think that's what,
you know, well, even if you're thinking
actually, does that card say power?
What it says power. It's 4 discs.
What am I saying?
I mean, in a different context, it could be seen as a chip, you know, a microchip, you know. It depends on what the question is, and you've got to go with what you see it as.
I did see a microchip to start off with, but that was the word that you know, form and structure is, and it's bringing the two almost the oh yeah, let's just go and make this stuff, to like, oh, we better have a bit of, you know, that could be masculine and feminine, the classic definitions of, you know, masculine and feminine. The feminine's creative, the masculine's right, okay, like, oh, let's work out how to do this without killing ourselves.
So do we want to ask the same question about the sun? Because, you know, you see spaceships near the sun. Do they go through it? Is the sun a portal? There's lots of questions. Is it solid? Is it not? So let's just tell us about the sun.
Well, we might as well.
might as well do the basics.
At least the 3 things that are quite dear to everybody living on the planet Earth's life, which is the sun, the moon, and the planet itself.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the
yes. So thinking about the sun, yes, is it, you know, what's the story with the sun? Okay.
Yeah. Oh wow. For some reason, each time I do this, I'm moving it across. Interesting. Okay. So what am I getting? What is the sun? I think the sun's so looking at the first one, I see it as yes, it is round. Okay, looking at overall, it is still round. Okay, it's not one of these things, but I think it has so much power onto it that I could actually see that, yes, there could actually be a portal, some sort of complex thing that when you go through, you don't feel the heat. There's pockets of whatever that you I mean, who's to say the heat doesn't start when it hits the atmosphere? It may not have that heat when it's outside. We don't know.
Right. And if you're teleporting, does heat really matter anyway?
Well, that's it. Yes. And you know, there's a lot of perspectives on what we see. The sun I think the sun is a very powerful transmitter of I think it is being used for its energy, but it may not be heat energy. It could be kind of like, I feel more like a radiation, or not a bad radiation, but there's some sort of it could even be electronic, magnetic, or something energy that it produces that can be used to power things. And then then if I'm sort of looking at the last one, I see that it's a never-ending flow. But on Earth, we only see sort of one perspective of it coming down in a certain way. I don't know. It's a bit odd, the last one for me. It doesn't. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's just the heat that it can produce, but it doesn't mean it's deadly. It doesn't mean it. That's what it is. It's not deadly. You're not going to go fly into it and die.
I guess it's the same as anything. Like poisons can be used to be the greatest cures on the planet as well. So, I guess it's used. Look, when you pulled the cards, the first thing I saw again with that first card was the, like magnets. So that those magnetic lines that you see if you put iron filings on a piece of paper and stick a magnet underneath it. The second card, when you pulled that, I got Apollo. And the third card, when you pulled that, I got despair. So what does that mean together is that the sun, or the thing that we see as the sun, is definitely radiating or responsible for setting up the magnetic fluxes within what we call planet Earth. Apollo, I don't know if you know, I think it's Roman mythology. Apollo is the one who drove the sun across the sky in his chariot every day.
Yeah.
Which would imply that the sun is a made-up thing or a constructed entity that has a set process that's going up. I guess your definition of constructed could vary, because if you subscribe to Gaia, or collective entity decided to create the unconditional love experiment, then you could go, well, Gaia created it. But I feel it's a little bit lower dimensional level than Gaia. The last one, despair, is well, that's the word that I got. And like you, I don't quite know how that fits into everything else, but what I'm feeling is that when we know that it's being constructed, which is the cloud next door, and that this has contributed to us being limited in our thinking, then there might be a lot of despair that comes out about it. But yes, it's definitely pumping out energy. It's definitely being used for energy. Actually, I got the information then, which is, no, we're not actually using it. We're not actually using it for the energy that it was set up to provide us. And okay, more specifically, we're not currently using it now. And the beings that are thought to use it, or the construction, or to leverage, I guess, things that they're doing now in order to leverage the power behind that and make themselves bigger, not bigger physically, but it's like if you were climbing the corporate ladder and you were shafting people in order to get higher, or sleeping with people to get higher up the ladder. That's sort of what the analogy I would use is. So they want to get bigger by moving up. They actually don't know how to use it properly either. And so they obviously weren't the ones who constructed it, is all I can say there.
Which is kind of interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, when you think about it, Australia still doesn't use solar power energy cost effectively. It's still quite expensive. Yeah, and we've got more sun than anybody else. Or well, there are other countries like Africa, but we've got a lot of sun and we're just not using it. And you'd think that by now, with all this, they've given us rebates to put all this solar power energy and what have you, it should be much cheaper to put on solar panels, and they're not. They're still hugely expensive, and they're still hugely big.
Oh, look, like 10, 15 years ago, I was working for another government agency, and it's doing work with, the carbon economy and what we could do. And at the time, we looked into Monash University and partnering with them. It never happened, but at the time, so this is 15 or so years ago, is Monash University had already then come up with a paint that you could paint your house roof with and then
Yep.
connect it to the grid, and they just needed a big sponsor, and it just
Yes.
didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, there was so much like things to trip over, and they just needed a big sponsor to get it going, to make it financially viable to actually put this thing out to the market. So look, we had that. But I will say, to come back to the energy and the sun thing, is the information I got as you were talking was not, the heat is the least effective form of the sun's energy, and we keep looking at that to use that. So that's a misdirection for us, as in us. I'll call us lowly plebs. That's not diminishing anybody and their skill knowledge. It's just saying that on the ladder of things that people really know about in the world as it stands today, we're kept in the dark and fed bullshit.
So technically, what you're saying is just light. There's a way of just using light for energy.
The magnetic red stuff that the sun's just pumping out is that's the most powerful form of it that we could possibly use. I just got the word plasma, and I know they often talk about the sun as being it's so hot it's plasma and all of that sort of stuff. That doesn't mean that there's sun's plasma in the Earth's atmosphere as we understand Earth and the atmosphere. What it does mean is that's the type of energy that we could be harnessing easily.
Yeah.
And we're not. And maybe that's where the despair is too, when we go, look how much we've stuffed up this planet when we could just have been doing this, it's sort of like, what is it, a Bible story about wandering around the desert for 40 years, and like they could have just asked directions.
Yeah.
And then what I got out quicker. Again, that's not disparaging, but it's just coming back to this despair one. What is the word? Detach. Yeah.
Depart. Okay,
Depart.
so just to help a little bit, I don't know what depart means. It must be French. And it could be despair. But I pulled out another card just to go with that one. To go with that.
Interesting. Is that to go with the middle card, or
to go with the depart one? So if I do it this way and then move this out a bit more.
Yeah.
Here we go. How does that?
Well, that immediately said to me, well, don't worry about the despair, because you'll get over that, because it's just going to be like great afterwards.
Yeah.
So what did you get from that?
I got like, it's all for the good. So as much as it looks like, whoa, this is, like kind of like the, the sun's going to collapse and move in. It's not. It is actually a very, very good thing. And I think it looks like we adopt whatever comes out of it very, very quickly, because it is so easy to adopt.
Yeah, it is.
I think we've made everything too complicated. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I think it's like, we've gotten down the ditch of like making things, but it's like, it's just really not that hard. It's just really easy and simple, and and that to me is actually connecting nicely back to the first card, which are these two really just clean, clear. This is what it's all about. The middle two cards currently for me are really sort of saying what the state of play is. It doesn't answer if it's solid or if it's a flaming ball of gas or anything like that, but it just, to me, these cards are talking about the energy, what's going on, what we probably see, what's happening, and and that it's just going to all work out. So
yeah.
Wonder now, the people out there, what do you see? Put your comments below, and so I reckon we've done quite enough tonight, Brenda.
Yes, no, that's great. I think we've covered, as you said, we've covered the basic planetary looking round things that we see, the Earth, the Earth, the sun, and the moon.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for pulling such brilliant cards again.
No worries.
Like, subscribe, check out the below channel for links to some of the things that we've spoken about tonight, and look, as always, make your own decisions and do your own research. It's an interesting times we're living in. We'll catch you next time. Bye for now.